In the name I am that I am, Sanat Kumara, I call forth the light of the living word, beloved Elohim, beloved archangels, beloved mighty Choans of the rays and the lords of karma. I call for the action of beloved Pallas Athena, beloved goddess of liberty, beloved Nada, beloved Kuan Yin, beloved Portia, beloved great divine director, beloved all-seeing eye of God, Cyclopeia. Let God's will be done, let God's will be done, let God's will be done. I do in the action of the sacred fire in this hour, descend on mighty cosmos, secret rays. I am the holding of the balance of Lord Gautama Buddha, beloved Sanat Kumara and the seven holy Kumaras. I call upon the sacred fire, I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved mighty, I am present, come forth in this hour of the victory. Come forth in this hour of the victory of the God slain. I am the full power, beloved mighty, exceeding with us this night. Beloved Jesus, send to me, Lord, my Savior, Gautama and Sanat Kumara. Come forth now in the victory of the God slain. Send the light of 10,000 suns. Beloved mighty, stand, mighty, stand, mighty, stand. Presence of any sort of aim around this fortune now. I call upon the great symbols of magnet. I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved Estelle, beloved Estelle, beloved Estelle. I call upon the electronic solar rings of the great central sun, the seraphim of God. I call for the electronic fire rings. I call for the rings of the great central sun.
That was the eerie and dulcet tones of Elizabeth Clare Prophet. And the musical sounds around Elizabeth Clare Prophet are courtesy of Diamond Matrix, a.k.a. yours truly. So just in case you ever listen to that or hear that or wonder what the hell that's all about, that's a track I did. And I did that probably about 3 years ago now. And it was when I was very deep into creating music, electronic music. And I think I cranked out about an album's worth of music in about 2 months. I've got a dozen tracks from that time that I could actually put on a CD and put out there if anybody ever wanted them. But music is so ubiquitous now that it's kind of like last night. I was talking to the Mermuse last night, and I said, everybody's got a radio station now. Everybody's got their own radio show now. And it reminded me of when you looked around and everybody had their own CD at some point. It's like, hey, I've got a CD. Hey, I've got a CD. Hey, I've got a CD. Everybody's got their own radio show now. But there is only one navigating the astrological matrix, and you're listening to it right now. I'm your host and navigator, Robert Phoenix. Welcome to the show. It is Wednesday, the 18th, and we are getting ready to transit out of Aries. We're at the anaretic degree of Aries, 29 degrees on the sun side of Aries. The moon is at 0 degrees Aries. Mercury, 1 degree Aries. Uranus, 5 degree Aries. 5 degrees Aries. So it is an Aries party. It is an Aries party. Moon, Mercury, Uranus, very intense, very powerful, explosive, rash. I wouldn't necessarily say compulsive, but there could be an element of that as well. You know, when we look at transits, theoretically, when we look at transits, we try to figure out how we can take advantage of the transits. And so, you know, a working understanding of astrology in your chart certainly would help. It would help. But if you don't know what your chart is, and you don't know where your houses are or where your planets are, and you're just looking at an ephemeris, just for the collective, or just for a brief snippet, a taste of what certain planets and aspects can do at large. Right now, when we see all three of those planets in Aries, all conjunct, all pretty tight, within 5 degrees of one another, especially here in the early morning hours on the West Coast, and certainly even back east. The moon is starting to move fairly quickly, and throughout the day it will actually pass Mercury and pass Uranus, or sorry, not Uranus. It will pass both of those planets. But for right now, during this brief period of time, there is an energy that is available, which is fiery, electric, determined. So whatever you're doing right now, or at least after what you're doing right now, which theoretically is listening to this show, or if you're listening to the podcast, you've probably already done it. So it won't make much sense or use to you if you've already done it. Or perhaps if you've done it, you can go back and listen to it and say, you know what, that makes sense. I did do that. Does that make sense? Anyway, if you're listening now, the whole idea with participating with the energy of these 3 planets is to make a decision, make a choice, get off your ass, do something. If you've been sitting on a fence, today is the day to get off the fence. Because when the sun goes to Taurus, it won't be about sitting on a fence, it'll be sitting down in a pasture. Because the sun in Taurus is not necessarily always the best energy to get things done quickly, or to make decisions quickly, or to respond quickly. Sun in Taurus is organic, it takes its time, it weighs things out. Of all the earth signs, these Taurus might be, in some ways, the most intuitive from a body standpoint, because Taurus is so connected to the body, and what Taurus likes to do is it likes to feel its body and how its body responds in different environments, in different settings. You know, and what Taurus theoretically likes to do is it likes to experience comfort. So being comfortable is a very important piece to Taurus. And so what the Taurus mindset or the Taurus psychology will do is it will gravitate based on its somatic wisdom, its knowledge of the body and its body of knowledge. It will figure that out, and then it will gradually and slowly move towards that place in their life. So it's a very primary, very direct energy, but there is a sense of kind of understanding at a bodily level. And most people are out of touch with their bodies, so to understand it from a bodily level can be challenging. However, Aries, on the other hand, and again, Sun's at 29 degrees Aries, people want to push over to this Taurus energy, but because there's so much action happening with Uranus and Moon and Mercury, you can get things done and get things done now. So if there's anything that you're putting off, don't put it off. If you need to talk to somebody, if you need to deal with some financial piece that is just burdensome, get it done now, because the energy with Aries will allow you to move very quickly and very decisively. And then once you've moved off of that, then you can relax a little bit, because what's going to happen is we're going to have Sun in Taurus followed by Moon in Taurus and the new moon, and you kind of want to kick back on the Sun in Taurus, on the new moon in Taurus. If you're doing any planting, the new moon in Taurus is always the best time to plant. Always. It's really the signal to the planting season. And this year, it's not quite on May Day, but it's close. We're getting close to May Day. So that's a little taste of the cosmic weather. Uranus Uranus is rapidly moving towards a square with Pluto. We're going to talk about that today. It's a very, very big square coming our way. Huge. Huge. It is the first of one of the mega squares, or sequence of mega squares that will be experienced between Uranus and Pluto over the course of the next 10 years. So, and there's other planets that will come into play with the squares as well. When Jupiter gets into Cancer in 2013, it starts the cycle, the T-square cycle all over again with Jupiter and Uranus and Pluto. And that, to me, when Jupiter moves into Cancer and gets into this T-square dance, I think that that's really going to be the flashpoint moment for the quote-unquote American Republic, because Cancer is a sign that is so deeply associated and ingrained with the chart of the United States that, and Jupiter wants to expand, right? It wants to expand. So you're going to see during Jupiter and Cancer people wanting to expand these Cancerian values. What we're going to see is, I wouldn't say it would be an outright rejection of technology or synthetic culture. It won't be that, but it will be an equally effusive and demonstrative time where people are going to be clamoring and really wanting to plant more traditional and organic values, nurturing values, caring and compassionate values in their lives. It's going to be very important. And the dance between Jupiter and Uranus, and especially in the early stages of Jupiter and Cancer, the opposition between Pluto and Capricorn, that's going to be very, very intense. Very intense. So, but that's a ways away, and we've got a whole lot of Jupiter and Gemini coming. And the thing with Jupiter and Gemini, which takes place quite soon, actually, I believe it's in June. The thing with Jupiter and Gemini is, well, first of all, Sagittarius, Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So in Gemini, it's actually in its fall. It's not the best place for Gemini. Why? Because Gemini is into minutia. Gemini is into facts and trivia. You know, Gemini is into tiny details. And Jupiter wants to expand. So we have this energy that's into kind of the fractalization of information. And we have this planet that wants to expand information. So it could be very, it'll be interesting. I mean, in some ways, there's really no bad aspect or manifestation of Jupiter, but Gemini doesn't always, it's not always the best place for Gemini. What will we see with Jupiter and Gemini? I think we're going to see an enormous amount of distractions, enormous, since Gemini is a sign that's so closely associated with trivia. We're going to see a lot of trivial information and trivial pursuits and trivial matters get really blown up and blown out. I think the fog of navigating through information with Jupiter and Gemini is going to be nearly impossible. It's getting challenging right now, and Jupiter is only, it's at the midpoint of Taurus. Just wait till it's in Gemini. Sorting through things is going to be, well, first of all, we won't have a shortage of things to sort through. Let's put it that way. And of course, the election is going to be taking place under Jupiter and Gemini. Think about that. Yes, it will. The election is going to take place. We are going to have an election. It's happening. It's going to happen. November, election, Jupiter and Gemini. Let's see what it's like. I think, what is it, the first Tuesday in November, right? Let's look at that. There's a Mercury retrograde that night. Doesn't bode well, but hey, Obama got sworn in under a Mercury retrograde, so nothing new there. Let's see. So it's the first Tuesday. Is it the first Tuesday? Yeah. Hold on. I believe it's the 13th, if I'm not mistaken, because that's when Mercury is retrograde. And Jupiter's retrograde, too. Got a lot of retrograde action happening. Neptune just goes direct. Uranus will be retrograde during that time. So you're going to have Uranus retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Mercury retrograde, all during election night. Should be interesting theater. That's for sure. I tell you right now, one of the things you can bet your ass on is we'll have some form of malfeasance with the vote and the vote tally. That's a given. That is a given with Jupiter and Mercury retrograde, especially in Gemini. So one of the things that we'll probably re-examine during that time is how we actually gather information and how we tabulate and all those things. Neptune will be direct in Pisces, which is good. But election night doesn't necessarily bode well. So what's it coming down to with the elections? It's coming down to really Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. I mean, there's no Ron Paul. There's nobody else sneaking in the side door. It's going to be these two guys. And Ron Paul, apparently there was a big flap with Ron Paul. It just happened a couple of days ago. And essentially what Ron Paul, so here's the deal. The United States, Israel wants to move its capital from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And the United States wants to, of course, move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And this is a big deal. It's a much bigger deal than you think, because there still is this piece around Jerusalem that's very unsettled. Well, it's settled in a very clear sense, but it's unsettled in the sense in terms of Gaza and the wall and the Palestinians. I mean, it's an epic fuck story, and it's apartheid-like proportions. And it's the one place, you see, Tel Aviv exists outside of this whole notion of two separate states. Because in Jerusalem, and because of the way that the three religions converge there, and because of the way the wall is set up, it essentially just kind of runs through and around Jerusalem, right? There is still the notion and the potential of a two-state solution. But by moving the capital, the government headquarters, to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, what it does on a symbolic level is it says there will be no two-state solution. There is only one state, and the state is Israel. And the United States, by moving its own embassy there, is reaffirming that. So what the Palestinian pro-rights people have said is that this is an abomination, that really what's going on is, you are subverting this process where we can actually carve out our own little niche on the planet, and it's going to further violate human rights and further cauterize in people's minds that this is indeed a Jewish state and an Israeli nation. So they're pissed. They're pissed that this is going to, happen. And Ron Paul essentially said, well, it's okay. Israel has the right to do whatever it wants to do. And which has been interesting because Ron Paul has been the most vilified of the candidates by Israel. So, he's taking kind of this Libertarian Party line, but people who are very savvy and in the know are essentially very shocked that Paul has done this because it is counter to his clamor for human rights and the free expression of being a human. Because on a organizational, on a symbolic level, the moving of these centers changes the game in a big way in the Middle East and in Israel. So the Muslim community, especially the pro-Palestinian Muslim community, is up in arms. It's like, Ron Paul, how dare you? You bastard. You're just like everybody else. You sell out. So the whole concept here, or the idea behind what Ron Paul is doing is, number one, he's getting out of the race. And number two, he's trying to angle something for either him or his son as a potential running mate for Mitt Romney. So Ron Paul, and I've backed way off of the Ron Paul meter. It's like I started backing off like last year. I did one post on my site about Ron Paul, and I do like some of the things that he talks about, but for me, he's done two things that I just did not agree with. And one I really haven't been able to get over, and that was when he was running in 2008, and he got creamed in New Hampshire when everybody, loved his message, and he was very popular, and there was a massive vote fraud. Massive. What's massive in New Hampshire? Significant vote fraud in New Hampshire. And the New Hampshire primary is, especially in 2008, was the one primary that is the Kickstarter. It's for, John McCain, gained traction. Well, there was a serious vote fraud and incongruity with the tally in New Hampshire. And Ron Paul was the quote-unquote victim or the recipient of that vote tally, or the incongruous and just flat-out wrong vote tally. So what happened was he didn't challenge that vote tally. He just moved on. And I'd given like $250 to the Ron Paul campaign. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Here you have an opportunity to stand up for something that's very American, call bullshit on this, and you're not doing it? It's like you can stop the beast in its tracks right now before it even gets any momentum, and you're not even doing it. Oh, we're going to go focus on Colorado. We're going to go focus on Nevada. No, focus on the goddamn vote, Ron, because you got screwed. And guess what? You got screwed again in 2012 because you didn't do anything about it in 2008. That's what you should have focused on. And there were a lot of people who were angry at Ron Paul for doing that. Very angry. He didn't get any of my money this time. In fact, he barely got any of my attention this time. Ron Paul is out there to drain all of the resources and the thoughts and the hopes and the aspirations of people that are in love with this idea of liberty and freedom. That's why he's there. That is why he is there. Because trust me, if he was any kind of a threat, Ron Paul would have been gone a long time ago. Long time ago. So anyway, he's angling for either him or his son to be the co-pilot on the Mitt Romney experience. All right, this show is about astrology, though. It's not about politics per se. But I'm talking about election night. Election night is going to be screwy, really screwy. I predict chaos, significant chaos, more chaos than the night that Bush got elected. And that was chaos incarnate. All right, so where are we? One of the things I wanted to do today is I wanted to talk a little bit about astrology, more so than what we've done up to this point. Let me just find the show tab and find out where we are here. I got some people on board. Okay, let me do this. I've got 4 people waiting to get in. Somebody's called in twice. They must be very serious about getting in. So I'm gonna get to their calls. I'm gonna clear the boards, and then once I clear the boards, and I'm gonna try to keep readings to a minimum of 10 minutes today, or maximum 10 minutes. Minimum 10 minutes. That's a whole other can of worms. So I'm gonna clear the lines, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back and I want to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu's chart, and then we'll get into the Pope's chart a little bit. But the chart that I'm really interested in today is Netanyahu's chart, because the most flammable piece on the planet right now is Israel, Iran, and Benjamin Netanyahu is a huge player, and his chart is explosive, to say the least. Okay, so let's start in with one of the calls, and let's find out who they are and where they're calling from. Good morning and welcome to the program. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. My name's Melissa, and I'm calling from Boulder, Colorado.
Hi, Melissa. How are you today?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Good. So, okay. Have you listened to the show before? Do you know what goes on here?
I listen to your other shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here today, basically what we do is, or what I do is, if you have a question or an issue, and it can be about astrology in general, it can be about your chart. If you want me to look at something, that's kind of the format. So the next 10 minutes and maybe a little bit more than that are yours. What would you like to do?
Yeah, I'm wondering why I'm kind of like floundering spiritually, it feels like. So I'm wondering if you see anything in my chart that...
Okay, when is your birthday?
1/1/66.
Okay. Well, that's an easy one to find. It's right there at the top of the ephemeris. New Year's Day, 1966. Okay, so let's see. Floundering spiritually. Let's look at your chart. Well, it looks like you have. What do you have? A Taurus moon? Is that right?
No, I think it's an Aries moon.
Aries. Okay. The challenge with when I don't do natal charts and I'm just doing solar charts, the moon is always the trickiest part because I don't get an exact figure on the moon. So I always have to clarify that. Because when I see it here, it's a universal time, and most people are born in the United States, and it's almost always ahead, after universal time. So okay, so you've got the Aries moon. It's probably late degree Aries moon, if based on what I'm seeing here. Mercury, Sag, Venus, Aquarius, Mars, Aquarius. Well, you've got Jupiter in Gemini, and it is retrograde. So you're going to have a Jupiter return for you it'll be in 2013. Let's see what else. Saturn, Pisces, 12 degrees, Uranus, Virgo, Neptune. You've got a lot of retrograde planets in your chart. You've got Pluto retrograde, Virgo, Uranus retrograde, Virgo, Jupiter retrograde, Virgo, and Jupiter squares both Uranus and Pluto in your chart. And Jupiter squares, while they're not necessarily awful, it's the thing. Whenever Jupiter squares a planet, it brings out kind of the excessive qualities of Jupiter.
Right.
And when it's in Gemini, now we're getting into kind of an interesting pivot of your chart, and it's retrograde in Gemini. So one of the things that could be a challenge for you is purpose, and not just spiritually, but like what you're here to do. Because Jupiter in Gemini, especially retrograde, could get lost in not only a number of choices, but what they would perceive to be missed or lost opportunities.
Okay.
Because with a heavy retrograde focus in your chart, there is a tendency to look backwards more than look forward or be in the present. Now, with you're part of this generation. I've talked about this on the show before. You're part of this generation that is got this Uranus-Pluto conjunction that's very, very tight. And the first time that this really caught my attention was many years ago when I read a book. I didn't write the book. I read a book called The Starseed Transmissions. It's kind of an interesting book. It's channeled.
Yeah, I like it.
So it does talk about your generation in that book. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I don't remember that part. I remember liking the book.
so it speaks to, it actually speaks to that conjunction in that book. And you were born during this period, which we call kind of romantically the summer of love, right? Between 1966 and 68 is the explosion of the 60s. And there was a lot happening there, a lot of which was, in my estimation, a complete mindfuck. But on another level, there was a very serious infusion of cosmic energy at that time. And the awakening of the planet was real and valid. How people were navigated and steered and moved around is a whole other story. But the energy is very real. And I have found that people born during that time are very profound healers. And they get very into their healing modality, whether they're yoga instructors or whether they're massage therapists or whether they're writers and researchers or even actors and actresses. There's a quality to them that is very multidimensional. They're able to really channel energies that are theoretically much larger than the individual. So, with your generation specifically, I look to, this whole concept of alternative healing in a very profound fashion because of that conjunction. And yours is so tight, it's with 1 degree. The other challenging piece to this is you've also got Chiron in Pisces, and that throws a whole other dimension into this because now you've got a T-square with Chiron and with Pluto and with Neptune and with Jupiter. And Chiron in Pisces it can give you a sense at times of feeling lost. Because no, it's true. Because there's
it's true.
Yeah, there's like, oh my God, what do I do?
Just wandering around. I don't know what I'm doing next. Yep, that's me.
Well, all right. So here's the. So eventually, what's going to happen is Chiron is going to catch up. Transiting Chiron will catch up to your natal Chiron. It won't be for probably about another 2 years. Which you're saying, oh shit, I got to wait 2 years. That's not necessarily the case, because I'm going to talk about Pluto, and Pluto is a major player in your chart. I'm saving the best for last.
Because it's really depressing so far.
Yeah. So, but I'm telling you though, what will happen is when you get to the Chiron return, your sense of being unfocused or your energy and your attention being diffused will finally come to an end for you. And it happens with everybody in their Chiron return. Now, here's the deal. Jupiter moves into Gemini this year, in fact, just in a couple months, and you've got your true node is in Gemini. Okay, your true node is in Gemini. It's at 4 degrees. So very early on, you're going to have a Jupiter true node conjunction. And if I had your chart in front of me, I would look at what that house is and where the true node is lining up, because that's where your opportunity to kind of break through this sense of inertia will occur for you. And we know that if the true node is like the true north of the chart, which I believe it is, then we've got to focus our intention and figure out how we can work with that. So for you, it's in Gemini. What is Gemini about? It's about gathering information. It's about reportage. It's about research. It's about sharing information. It's about writing. These are all very Gemini aspects. It's about teaching, but teaching at kind of a elementary school or high school level. All of these things with your true node should be looked at in a very prominent way. And so I think if you're looking to maximize sort of the energy of the true node, you'd want to just drill it down into things like writing, research, and teaching. Those are the three most salient aspects of the true node in Gemini. The other thing with Gemini is sometimes Gemini can be really good at PR. They can be really good PR people because they can be social gadflies at times and really connect people and connect with people. So that's another that's another thing theoretically that you could look at. And again, I believe it's in June when Jupiter goes from Taurus to Gemini. Really, from June, July, that's a big period for you. So what you want to do is you want to think about, well, how can I take advantage of the inherent gifts that I know that I do have? If I do have a knack for research, or I do have a knack for connecting people and networking, or if I do have a knack for writing and teaching, well, how can I plug into that? Where can I do that? Because theoretically you do, especially with Jupiter in Gemini, and you're going to have Jupiter's going to be your friend over the course of the next year. So the opportunity for you is to figure out, how that's going to manifest. Which aspect of Gemini do you want to follow and then plug into? Because that's the path of least resistance for you. On a spiritual level, on a big cosmic existential spiritual level, the denouement to your confusion will be your Chiron return. But that doesn't mean that you cannot be functional and figure out what to do in the now for this time. And Jupiter will leave clues for you with that in Gemini. Now let's move over to Pluto. Pluto is I believe it's at 8 degrees right now in Capricorn. So what you have and will have really for the next year is a Pluto-Sun trine. And you've got your Sun at 10 degrees Capricorn. Pluto is going to be, it will trine your Sun exactly next year in 2013. Pluto gets up to 9 degrees this year. So with a Pluto-Sun trine, you really have the power to recreate your identity in a big way, because Pluto is it's the essence and the power of transformation. But because it's in a trine with your Sun, it's not a dramatic. It is not a dramatic and challenging aspect. So if it were a square, it would be demanding. You have got to change your life, right? It's not necessarily doing that. If it were an opposition to your Sun, which would be very hard, but it would really tug on you, and you would have at times a real existential crisis about why you're here, But now, really, what you've got is you've got the opportunity to say, okay, what can I do? What am I good at? Well, Capricorn, especially with the energy that you've got, right? You've got the 1 degree Capricorn. You're born in the first 10 degrees, which is 1, really, if you do the numerology, and you're born in the first month. So 1 is a really, really prominent number that shows up in the initial stages of your numerological breakdown, and that's all leadership energy. Capricorn is leadership energy. One of the things that you need to do, and I say need, I think it's important, is that you need to see yourself as a leader. You need to see yourself as an achiever. You need to see yourself as somebody that is extremely competent. That, I think, is very, very important, because you've got like a continental shelf drop-off after your Sun. You've got your Moon, which is in a fire sign, your Mercury, which is in a fire sign, your Venus, which is in an air sign, your Mars, which is in an air sign, your Jupiter, which is in an air sign. The first 5 planets after your Sun are fire and air. There's no Earth there. There's no Earth until you get to Uranus and Pluto. So those are transpersonal planets. The most personal planets that you have in your chart have no Earth. So it's a challenge for you to really ground that identity and that realization that you are very capable, because you've got all this, kind of air and objective and speculative and fiery and passionate and ideological energy that in some ways doesn't allow you to ground that realization. Pluto trining your sun is giving you the opportunity to really own that, and to own the fact that you are competent, to own the fact that you do have leadership qualities, to own the fact that you can master something. That's what that's about. And you've got a strong year to practice this.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Well, yeah, you're very accurate. So, thanks.
So let's just go over the review here, and then we'll send you back off into the digital ethers. Jupiter's coming around in about a month and a half, conjuncting your true node, and then in 2013 it will conjunct your Jupiter. Focus on writing, research, networking, PR, all those things, teaching that are very Gemini. That's where you want to focus if you want to make any kind of breakthroughs. And reaffirm that you are extremely capable, and begin to practice that. One of the things that you would want to do is to study people that are success stories.
Okay.
Okay?
I will.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Melissa.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was a little over 10 minutes, wasn't it? Sorry. I should have a stopwatch here. All right, let's go to this 716. Let's see who's there, what they want to talk about. Hi, you're on the air with Robert. Who are you? Where are you calling from? And what would you like to talk about?
Hello, Robert.
Yeah.
This is Ken, calling from
Ken.
Ransomville, New York.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
Very good. Love your show. And I was wondering if you could just kind of give me one of your oracular shots on my natal, or 1/16/53.
Okay.
3:05 p.m. New York, New York.
Okay, 1/16/53. All right. Tell you what, I'm gonna do one natal for you.
Whatever's good for you, then.
And then let's see. Let's do this here. Hold on. Just so I can give people an idea of what the natal chart experience is like.
Okay.
Let me just. I've got all my windows open for other charts. It's going to take me a second here. And I don't want to lose these charts. Let's just do this. That's not good.
You want to shift gears in any way?
No, it's okay. I just got to. Here we go. All right, so I'm in the. I'm getting there. I'm almost in the chart zone. Yeah. So what I do is I line everything up before the show, and I just have to open another window and get to the. Get to the software that is going to do this. So let's go here. Let's go here, and this is going to be you. And let's just put your name in here. And okay. All right. So that's 1/16/1953. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And let's do this. And what time was that?
3:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And what part of the universe was that?
New York City, New York.
All right. One of my favorite cities on the planet. Love New York. All right. And there you are in all of your natal glory. Okay. So where do you want to steer this ship?
Well, I've, in terms of love, I've got a Taurian that I'm in love with. Actually, I divorced about almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
A Pisces. And I've got a book coming out sometime this year, so I'm kind of interested in the timing of that. And so that, the steerage is pretty much, kind of unpacking, I guess, the 8th house steerage and the 7th house of relationship where my Chiron is.
Yeah, yes, you've got
Chiron.
Chiron
That seems to be,
there.
between the 1st house with Uranus and, I guess the 5th house with my Saturn square in Libra.
Yeah. Well, you've got that opposition, and the challenge for you, Ken, is the desire to be iconoclastic and free, and allows sort of that Uranian genius to manifest through the first house. And Uranus in Cancer is interesting to have. Like I've seen people, and I've experienced people that have Uranus and Libra in the first house, and they can be very mercurial and schizo in relation to relationships, because that's kind of the Libra factor. And but Uranus in Cancer is different. Uranus in Cancer is more about, especially in the first house, restlessness, and why you're here, where your home is, what planet you're from, which star you're from. I mean, all that stuff is all churned up in the first house in this quest to literally find home in a unique and unusual and very personal kind of expression. And when it opposes Mercury and Chiron in the seventh house, there's a real balancing act between this sort of quixotic quest and the need to have relationship. And with Chiron in the seventh house, there's it's a real double-edged sword, right? Because on one hand, theoretically, relationship would really complete you with that Chiron there. It's like you're craving relationship, and you're craving long-term relationship with Chiron and Capricorn. But at the same time, there would be a real pushback from that at times because of the relationship with Uranus in your seventh house. I mean, in your first house. What degree is the Taurus that's in your life?
Shit, I don't have that. I don't have that right at hand.
When's the birthday?
27 April.
So it's an early degree of Taurus.
57. Yeah.
So it's going to be probably probably about 8 degrees, maybe of Taurus. So the good news is it's going to conjunct your Jupiter. We like that. Anytime their Sun conjuncts your Jupiter. The good thing about being involved with the Taurus is that you're always going to be best friends first with the Taurus, and that's important, because many times friends will understand your restlessness better than a lover will. Okay, so having that friend connection is good, and if it's around 8 or 9 degrees Taurus, the nice thing is that her Sun will trine your Chiron. So your Chiron will get some support from her Tauran consistency and the ability to connect with her at a bodily level, because it's important for you to connect at a bodily level. Especially when you've got that quixotic and slightly erratic Uranus in the first house. You need to come home. Relationship, especially on a bodily level, that connection will bring you home. The other thing, too, is that would this person be involved with you in any way, shape, or form in helping you promote your book?
Not at the moment. I mean, she's got some art background, but presently not really. I mean, it's a kind of specialized area of poetics, actually.
Okay. Well, one of the things that maybe not this book, maybe it's the next book, but theoretically, what would be nice is that if this person could evolve with you in terms of a working partnership or working relationship, because the aspect with both with Mercury and Chiron so close together, in the seventh house in Capricorn, it would be great if you could have somebody, especially if they're showing up in your 11th house, which is the house of networking and sort of acquiring values and connections, if they could maybe help you through a book party or something like that. Maybe they don't have to be on the ground and stumping for you, but supporting you in that way would actually help grow and build your relationship. Because with Capricorn on the 7th house, they do thrive with somebody that can be there for them, and they can work together towards something. And because she's got her Sun in Taurus, and you've got your Sun in Capricorn and these two planets in Capricorn, this can evolve slowly. Everything that you have to do, other than your own personal quest to find and understand what home is, needs to develop organically. And so, taking your time with this person and taking your time with her, being in your life. You can't force it, you can't push it, but allow it to grow and allow it. Just see where it can go, and not just necessarily limit it to being a lover or being kind of an enlightened lover friend. Play with the possibility of, where are other areas that you could braid your lives together? Because I think you would be really supported in that way with, that intensity of Mercury and Chiron and Capricorn, in the 7th house for you.
Good.
In terms of your book launch, so you've got Pisces right up there at your midheaven, 11 degrees, Venus and Mars, very tight conjunction in Pisces. So, if it's about sort of advanced poetics or something like that, that's probably a really nice place for these planets to hang out. It's a really inspirational angle. I would say that the biggest, I wouldn't say it's a challenge, but one of the things that you're going to encounter is when Chiron crosses over your midheaven and touches your Venus and touches your Mars. There's going to be a sense of vulnerability with that. Like you're really putting yourself out there in a way that you've never put yourself out there before. And because Pisces is incredibly sensitive, one of the things that you might shy away from could be criticism of your work with this book launch. But that's okay though. You've got a really strong ally with Uranus in the 1st house. So you can recover very quickly, from any slings and arrows of criticism, and by really readjusting your attitude or doing something innovative to sort of counterbalance that. But I think it's a good thing, though. I mean, being vulnerable and being opened up to criticism or being opened up to somebody's misinterpretation or different interpretation of your ideas or your work allows you to get stronger, get tougher, reevaluate your work if you're not taking things personally, reject what they're saying. There's something about unconditionally accepting your own creative process as Chiron moves over, and it's going to hang out on your Venus and Mars for a while. So part of what you can get used to is once you've kind of pierce the veil of vulnerability, is that you can begin to see that your work is inspirational. It can touch people. It can heal people. Certainly, it's healing you. And then the big ticket item is Neptune, and Neptune is going to eventually migrate over into your 10th house and cross over your midheaven. And I think that that's really a very spectacular period in time for you. And I think you're just getting started. And allow the momentum of this book to really feed you and continue to inspire you. And because what you really want to do is stay in that flow for as long as you can, so that when Neptune does cross over and begins to touch your Venus and begins to touch your Mars, what you're really doing at that point is you're in the deep promotion of your life work, like your great work, the great novel or the great movie, something along those lines, why you're here. I mean, that, a lot of the questions and a lot of the restlessness, I feel, gets settled for you in the degrees of Neptune, like between 9 and 17 degrees. That's when you get the Neptune-Uranus trine. That's when you get Neptune on your Venus. To me, it's a big culmination cycle for you. It's not just a culmination of this lifetime. It's a culmination of many other lifetimes, and really, in a lot of ways, it's sort of the final chapters of your soul's experience on this planet. That's my sense. And you've got a lot of time to get to because Neptune moves pretty slow. But I think that's the beacon. That is the light at the event horizon that you need to be moving towards. That's your pull. And this book now is really the initial stages of that. So don't let any criticism or don't let any people that don't understand your work, derail you. Stay steady with it. And you've got this Taurus person in your life, and you couldn't ask for a better sign and even degree for you to be connected with a person that could support you as you're going through this very public process of releasing something that's very very personal to you.
Very good. You're dynamite,
Okay.
man. Thanks a lot, Robert.
Okay, take care, Ken. Thank you for calling.
Yep. Yeah, bye-bye.
All right. Ken, New York City. New York in the house. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. It's 10:55, and you're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'm your host. Let's go to the 786 number. I'm gonna do this call 414. I'm gonna get to you. 718. I'm gonna get to you. And then after I do these next three calls, I'm gonna take a break. And when I come back, I'm gonna talk about Benjamin Netanyahu's charts. Let's do three more. Let's bang these out, and I'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll do some chart study. And maybe we can figure out what the hell is going to happen with Iran and Israel and the United States. All right, here we go. Hi there. Thanks for calling. You're on the air with Robert. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi, how are you? This is James from Florida.
Hey, James. What's happening, man?
What's going on? Nothing much. What's going on?
Have you decided to move yet? Have you decided to get out of Florida yet?
Oh, man. I think spiritually I've been decided, but I'm just trying to get everything physically to match with that intention.
What's going to move you, man? What's going to get you off that mark?
Some money.
Money. Let me tell you. Can I share with you? I've had kind of a breakthrough with money.
Oh man.
I'm going to share my breakthrough, and I this is a rare moment for me because I've got Saturn in Capricorn in the second house. All right, and it is Saturn in the second house is a bitch, and,
right?
And in Capricorn, it's like, yeah, you know, here you go. You're going to learn this lesson, and it's going to take you a lifetime, but you're going to learn it. God damn it, right? So for me, during this Jupiter has been very kind to me in Taurus, especially during the grand trine with Pluto and Mars. And here's what my breakthrough was, James. My breakthrough is that, believe it or not, I decided to work hard. Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't worked hard all my life. I have worked hard all my life. But what I really did is I decided to throw my shoulder into my work in a way that I hadn't done before. And in order for me to do that, I had to be clear. I had to stop doing things that were, distracting and draining my energy, whether they were people or relationships or substances. And once I did that, and once I participated with Saturn in Capricorn and, put my shoulder to the wheel, all of a sudden the universe said, hey, we're going to reward you. Here's all these readings. I've gotten more support in the last month with my website and my work than I have in the past 2 years. And for me, it was really about, it wasn't really anything airy-fairy. It was about committing to what I was doing on as many levels as possible, and then working hard towards that end. And I've been rewarded. And now I feel like I'm in this cycle, and I just want to kind of stay in this cycle. And maybe that can pertain to you. Let's give me your birth date again, and let's see what we've got.
It does. My birthday is 3/30/85.
Okay, 3/30/85. Now you've got all that Aries energy.
Right.
We looked at that in your chart. Okay, we're gonna see where Saturn is. Saturn is the is the taskmaster. (330.85). There you are. Okay, so you've got Saturn in Scorpio. That means you've got your Saturn return coming. So the thing with the Saturn return, that Saturn moves into Scorpio in October of this year, and my experience with Saturn, or my experience with conjunctions in general, so the typical astrological interpretation of a conjunction would be 10 degrees. 10 degrees and less. Theoretically, that's when the energies really kick into gear, and the closer the conjunction gets, the more you feel it. My theory with astrology is that once the sign changes into a sign, if you have a planet in that sign, you're going to feel it. And you're going to feel it whether it's if your Saturn is at 27 degrees, you're going to feel Saturn at 0 degrees, 1 degree, 2 degree. The only difference is that the closer it gets, the greater the intensity gets. So you're going to experience a shift as soon as Saturn gets into Scorpio. For Saturn in Scorpio is all about personal power, okay? Scorpio is one of the most powerful signs in the zodiac. But it is not demonstrably powerful like, say, Leo is. Leo loves to flaunt its power. Or Aries is powerful in the sense that it's powerful and doesn't really understand that it's powerful. It just is, and kind of acts and exemplifies personal power. Those are different manifestations of power. Capricorn is very powerful, especially as it becomes more comfortable with its own recognition, with recognizing that it is competent and it is powerful. Capricorn can be very powerful and understands it. But Scorpio is different because, number one, it's water, and we always look to where the energy is coming from. Scorpio lives in the 8th house. That's where Scorpio is. And so the 8th house is one of these houses that, operates, more deeply and below the surface of our conscious awareness. And you've got Pluto in Scorpio at 4 degrees. So initially, right out of the gate, you're going to feel Saturn. And Saturn is going to force you to deal with power, deal with these, how do you break through and understand what you are capable of once you begin to focus your mind, focus your intention. And intention is a really big word for the Pluto and Scorpio generation, and especially the Saturn in Scorpio, because, it's a water sign, and water is not about, water is much more based on inference. It is much more receptive to very subtle forms of influence and connectivity. So air, when you're dealing with air, it's about commanding. Air is about pronouncement. Air is about the articulation of language. That's what air is. Fire is about action. It's about will. Well, water is it's more about intention. It's much more subtle. Water might be the most subtle of the elements. So for you especially as Saturn moves onto your Pluto, what you'll see is you will see very clearly and quickly how your mind and how your intention and how your emotions will manifest in real time in the world. So you're going to have to get very clear about what you want and how you want it to show up. This is going to be a very powerful lesson for your generation. And it's about harnessing the profound psychic awareness that's available for your generation. So this is all going to happen for you starting in October of this year. And the key for you is going to be, these questions. What is power? What is power? What is power? How do I access power? Where am I powerful? Where do I give my power away? These are all very important pieces for you. And with Saturn, again, it lends a certain intensity and focus, with that whole notion of personal power and making things happen. So intention is going to be something that's extremely important for you, really, really important. Well, you've got your true node in Taurus, and here's where you get a little bit of a break. Jupiter is coming around. It's at 17 degrees today. Within 2 weeks, you're going to have a true node Jupiter conjunction. And, I'd have to know where the true node is in your chart. It's actually the true node conjunction with Jupiter is going to happen this week. So it will hit your north node next week. So you're going to have this conjunction. And, it's kind of a gift. The true node Jupiter conjunction is a gift. And you don't have to do anything for it. You really don't, especially in Taurus. All you have to do is be open, live with a sense of gratitude, live with a sense of expectancy, not expectation, and just see what the universe drops into your lap. I mean, it's just a given. And it will leave some clues because the true node is, where you want to put your energy. So you want to look at, what happens to you in a really positive, beneficent, organic way over the course of the next week. And if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, James, I got a little part-time job for you to earn a little extra money, and you're going, okay, well, I'm a little stretched for time, but I'll listen. And then all of a sudden you get the part-time job and you like it. Well, that would be one of those, Jupiter true node experiences. Like the universe has brought you something, maybe seemingly inconsequential, but all of a sudden you begin to work it, you like it, and the next thing you know, you're off on a new career vector. So you need to pay attention over the next week and just see what kind of gift the universe, in collusion with you and your soul and your higher self, has dialed up for you. But in the meantime, you've got the Saturn moment coming towards you in October, and that's when your real work begins. That's when you get down into the deep parts of your own personal hard drive, and you begin to root around in there, and you begin to understand your operating system as it relates to intention. Okay?
That's good. That is powerful. Thank you.
All right. Let me just see if there's anything else we can go with here. Your Chiron is in Gemini, and your Gemini seems to be a theme. Gemini and Capricorn seem to be themes today. So Jupiter moves into Gemini, I believe it's in June. And so you're going to get that Jupiter-Chiron conjunction also, and that's another gift because Chiron is where we kind of feel vulnerable at times. We're not always sort of easy with ourselves with Chiron. When Jupiter passes over Chiron, there's my sense with the Jupiter-Chiron conjunction is you get to have a pronounced sense of self-acceptance. And so part of you with this Chiron Gemini, which is about duality, which is about in some senses bifurcated self, being one person in one situation, another person in another situation, that begins to resolve itself with the Jupiter-Chiron conjunction. So you show up as the same James wherever you go. Okay?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
All right, James. Take good care. We'll see you again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, James. One of my favorite bands is the band James. I love that band. I play some of their music, but now that these shows are on YouTube, if I play James's music, I get nasty little emails from YouTube telling me that I've played music that somebody else owns. It's amazing how fast they happen. Amazing. Blown away. Technology, let me tell you people, the back end of technology is so sophisticated. If you really knew what was going on, it would blow your minds. Blow your minds. You probably wouldn't like it either. Hi, you're on the air with Robert. Thank you for calling in. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Marion. Excuse me. Marion calling from Wisconsin.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Thanks for asking.
Sure.
Whew. Okay, date of birth is 6/5/70.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. Let me go back to my ephemeris. Where did you go, ephemeris? All right, let's just start from scratch. Here we go. Let's see. 6570. All right. 1970. There we are.
11. Oh, did you need some time?
No, I'm just going to go with your solar chart here. 6570.
Okay.
There you are. Gemini Sun. Looks like you've got a Cancer Moon. Is that right?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mercury, Taurus, Venus in Cancer, Mars in Cancer, Jupiter in Libra, Saturn in Taurus. So then you've got, let's see. All right, you've got a lot of really great nurturing and very loving energy with the Moon in Cancer. Do you have children?
I do. Mm-hmm.
I bet you are just an exceptional mother.
That's what they say. I don't always feel that way, but that's what they say.
No, you've got. With all this Taurus and all this Cancer in your chart, your kids have chosen a really good mom to hang out with. So just a notice on your chart. So what do you want to get into today? What do you want me to?
I want to look at. I am also doing some writing for books, and kind of trying to turn it into a business as far as increasing the number of speaking engagements I have. And also I want to look at relationships.
Okay, all right. So in terms of speaking engagements, well, here's let me go to Chiron. You've got Chiron in Aries at 9 degrees, and Uranus gets up to Aries to 8 degrees this year, and actually goes to 9 degrees. Actually, does get to 9 degrees this year. So you're going to have a Uranus Chiron conjunction this year, and that's really profound. Okay, and it's almost. It's conjuncting right now, and it gets exact. I believe in. I think it's August. I was looking at it this last night. So what that means for you is, Chiron is, and I talk about Chiron a lot on the show because I think it's pretty important. Chiron speaks to our blind side, occasionally our shadow. It's where we are not always comfortable with certain aspects of who we are. A lot of times it represents cultural and social indoctrination, either through religion, through family, through social institutions, where we're made to conform and shut down certain aspects of who we are, especially when we're young. And then when we look at where the sign shows up in Chiron, we begin to see what the challenge of the individual is. So for you, it's an Aries, and it's about power, it's about will, it's about personal expression. And I've seen this with people with Chiron and Aries and people with Saturn and Aries who were born just before you, is that they're not always comfortable with putting themselves out there. And when they do put themselves out there at times, it can be challenging or thought of or taken in the wrong fashion. And sometimes they will overstep their bounds. They'll take on too much power, or people will be threatened by their expression of their individuality. So that's part of the dance with Chiron and Aries. And for you, it's going to tie into being a mom too, because here you've got your identity as a mom, and Chiron and Aries is about being an individual. It's about finding that balance between you as a person, you as a singular entity, versus you as a mom. Now, in terms of your book and trying to gain a greater reach, Uranus conjunct Chiron, I think, is actually pretty interesting, because what you begin to look at is you begin to see how unique you are with the Uranus-Chiron conjunction. And it may cause you at times a little bit of a sense of volatility and restlessness, but it's going to be hanging out there for a little bit. And you're going to be able to kind of get it quickly, because Uranus is a very fast-moving energy, right? So in terms of what you want to do with your book, right, is you want to, especially with Chiron and Aries, is that you want to find
the unique aspects of your own personal story. And if you want to find, get more speaking engagements, you've got to find that unique angle. And Uranus will amplify that and will allow you to see how unique you are and to find unusual and interesting ways that you haven't really thought about or perceived before to connect with people and connect specifically on the internet, because the internet is a Uranian medium. So you want to be able to really bang social media in a big way, but you want to do it in a way that accentuates how different you are and how. So one of the things, again, if we're playing with this idea around, being a mom and having, all this really, very nurturing, loving, Cancerian and Taurus energy, one of the angles that you may want to look at is like, hey, look at me, look at what I do here, as Lois Lane, and over here I'm Superwoman. This is bringing Chiron into focus, and it's like, yes, I can do this. Look at what I have done, and not in an egotistical way. It's just that this is my life. This is who I am. This is my story. This is what theoretically society or the culture at large has kind of forced me to do, challenged me to do. I've taken the challenge on, and not only do I enjoy it, I'm excelling at it. And I can share my story with you. It's a success story. That's the angle you want to look at, because people will say, wow, that is a great story. Look at her. She's doing this. She's doing this. She's doing this. Let's find out more about her. Let's book this woman. How did you do that? How did you manage this time? How did you manage your relationships during this? How did you manage your heartbreak? Well, I stayed strong. I had faith. I always believed in myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you're so on point right now. You're just all up in my video, so I'm just smiling.
Okay, so that is the story. And you've got Jupiter, getting ready to conjunct your Sun. And that happens, it begins to happen this year. It's a wide conjunction. Jupiter gets it to 8 degrees, so it'll be 6 degrees off of your Sun. And you'll begin to feel that. And Jupiter is all about writing and speaking and connecting. As long as you stay true to this and you work it, you're going to be rewarded by the aspects in terms of where this is all taking you, because I think you're really on the right path, based on what I'm seeing with Chiron, based on what I'm seeing with your Sun. In terms of relationships, you've got Venus in Cancer, so. Venus in Cancer really can be very loving and very nurturing, but the one thing that they need in return is they need somebody to not only accept that and be able to accept it in a way that's not threatening, but also to be able to give back, because if you look at the sign for Cancer, right, it looks like a fish, it looks like two fish hanging out together, it's very symbiotic. It's yin yang, and so you've got to find somebody who can reciprocate on an emotional level and to give back to you in their own way. It's very important. You have an enormous capacity to give, but it's only going to be met by somebody who can match you and give back, not in the same way, but in a way that is reciprocal, and that's really important. So for you, just narrowing down what those choices might be for you, it's all about somebody who has the capacity to share and give back with you. That is first and foremost, because what will happen is Cancer can be very resentful if it's not being honored. So it can be moody, it can shut down, and so it's important that you pre-qualify somebody who can do that for you. Jupiter's in Libra in your chart. You've got it at 26 degrees. Saturn is right on your Jupiter right now. Okay, it can be theoretically a good time for you to explore relationship. And again, what is Jupiter? What is Libra? It's about balance. It's about reciprocity. It's about finding somebody that matches you and can can really work with you and complete you. Once Jupiter moves forward and gets right on the button of your Jupiter in Taurus, you could theoretically look around and say, okay, I'm really ready now. I understand what I need. I understand that I need to really have an equal partner. And again, intention is such an important piece, and it's more important now than ever because we're moving, as a planet, we're moving towards the galactic center. That's no bullshit. We're moving towards the galactic center. And as we move towards the galactic center, what begins to happen is the kind of the old laws of what we'd call, third dimensional physics begin to kind of fall away a little bit. So the subtle application of our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions and our energies really become very, very real. So intention is going to be playing a more important role as we get closer and closer to 12, 12, 12, 21, 12. So, I'm sharing this with you, and I share this with James, that through intention, you can really attract the type of relationship, and you're ready for it. I'm going to tell you you're ready for it right now. But you have to be clear, and the clarity comes from understanding and owning that the person that you want to bring into your life will allow you to nurture and love them and allow them to respond in kind in a way that you feel recognized, respected, and rewarded. And you do that, and you will dial up somebody that will be very loving and very important to your life. I get a sense that you will meet somebody through the marketing of your book and the reach out with your speaking engagements. Somebody's going to notice you, and you're going to say, "This woman has it going on. I want to be part of this woman's life." I'm serious.
Awesome. Very, very awesome. Thank you so much. I finally got the girl up to call you and just say, I'm gonna call in today and see what I'm looking at today, because I can feel the energy. I just wasn't sure how it looked, how it felt, how to put it into words, and I thank you for putting it into words for me.
My pleasure, and just go out and just let it all shine through you. Okay.
Okay, sure. Thank you so very much.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
Okay, let's see. What do we have here? Let's go here. Let's see. What time are we going off? Okay, so we've got 718 and 773. 773 has been on for. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's just go to the 773 line. Let's talk to them, and then I'm going to take a break, and we're going to talk. It's 11:22, by the way. This could be an important call. Hi, you're on here with Robert.
Hi, Robert.
How's it going?
11:22 are my two lucky numbers, so it must be meant to be.
That's meant to be.
I'm another Gemini. I don't know if you can handle another one today.
It's I dig Gemini. I've got my seventh house is kind of dominated by Gemini, so it's all good.
Well, that's great. I have a Libra rising and a Scorpio moon.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
I wanted to know, you're talking about Chiron, which I don't seem to know too much about. Mm-hmm. And I do notice that it is going to be trining my moon and my Saturn.
Uh-huh.
So I wondered what you thought about that, the transiting Chiron.
Let me when's your birthday?
May 24th, 1945.
Okay. May 24th, 1945. Okay, so let's see. Just get a look at this. Okay, so you have Chiron in May 24th, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I've got Chiron here I've got Chiron in Virgo here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In my 11th house it is in my chart. But I noticed you said that it was at like 9 degrees now in Pisces.
Oh, you mean Chiron? You mean transiting Chiron?
Right.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. So.
Yeah, I noticed it with my natal moon is 9 degrees Scorpio.
Yeah, the Chiron trine. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I wonder what that meant actually.
Yeah. So okay. That's a very interesting trine, because one of the things that I find Scorpio moons to be fascinating. I think it's one of the most interesting places for the moon, Scorpio, because people that have Scorpio moons have such a profound capability and potentiality to emotionally and physically regenerate themselves and other people. I've had lovers with Scorpio moons, and they are some of the most profound lovers in the zodiac, and it's because of they have a deep and intense ability to feel and to channel a broad spectrum of emotion, and they can't really shut it off. It's really, they feel deeply, feel intensely. Now, you were born in 1945, so you've had a few years to practice this, and you've had a few years to get in touch with the intensity of the Scorpio moon. And an evolved Scorpio moon is really a pretty cool thing, because they can really, people that have an evolved Scorpio moon can go into situations, whether they're relationships, whether it's a family issue, whether it's a business-related issue, whether it's even an item or an issue with themselves, and through their wisdom, through their maturity, and through their seasoned nature, can summon number one, compassion, and number two, emotional wisdom. So you've got that right now in your, and I can hear it in your voice. And you've had a lifetime to practice this. The Chiron trine will allow you to take that to another level. Okay, all right. Now that I feel comfortable with the intensity of the Scorpio moon, now that I've conquered over a lifetime issues like jealousy and possessiveness and envy, and the reason why, by the way, Scorpio moons have an intense time with those emotions, it's because they feel intensely. The lovers that I've had in the past that have had Scorpio moons, they get jealous because they feel the ecstasy and the depth of connectivity so profoundly that they don't want anybody else to experience that in relationship. Like, this is mine. I've experienced this at a deep level, and the reason they've experienced it at a deep level is because they have the capacity to and the ability to. Now, you've gotten through that and gotten over that, and now Chiron comes in and says, and Chiron is in Pisces, so it's this is an inspirational angle. What can you do with that? How can you share that energy with people around you? How can you share it with the world? How can you share this capacity? Because the other thing too, right, with the Scorpio moon is that it is intrinsically aligned with what I would call the emotional phoenix, or the expression of the emotional phoenix, which is, intensity, connectivity, death, intense heartbreak, and then resurrection out of that, new emotional ground, new emotional understanding. That's the pattern for the Scorpio moon. And now, Chiron comes in at an angle and says, hey, what do you want to do with that? What do you want to do with that knowledge? What do you want to do with that ability? How do you want to share that with people? Because we're living in a time where we need to have that Chiron in Pisces on a personal level and on a collective level. We need to have that worked out. And as it trines your Scorpio moon, you become an agent for that. You become a person that can practice that in their life. As it relates to your Saturn in Cancer, again, Saturn, Saturn's a tough place for Cancer. And one of the things that theoretically you could, I don't know what your financial situation is like. I don't know if you have the ability to give in your life. And by the way, it's trining your true node in Cancer, by the way, as well. I don't know where you are in terms of being able to give, but I would say that with this Chiron trine, with your true node, with your moon, and with Saturn, that you would be an ideal person to get behind the concept and the issue of homelessness, and people who really don't have a place to live, who are on the edge of losing their homes. You could be theoretically an advocate or somebody who could, spend some time, helping people along these lines. Again, because you've got a lot of stuff in Cancer, especially with this true node. There's going to be a whole new wave of foreclosures coming soon. Like banks, the foreclosure protection is ending, and banks are sharpening their knives right now. And one of the things that theoretically you could do is you could learn about, sort of this next aspect of foreclosures and what it means. Maybe you need to learn it for yourself in your own home, or maybe you need to learn it for people in your family or in your life or in your social circle. But that would be another aspect of Chiron coming into play, because you have the emotional capacity to transform people's lives, especially with the Chiron Pisces angle right now. So that's how I could see it from a personal standpoint. You could be of service in a big way. From your own personal standpoint, what it really means too also is the capacity to allow that softening of the Piscean energy come in and allow yourself to be loved. That's really fundamental as well, that trine. On a very fundamental level, it's allowing yourself to be loved. On a larger transpersonal level, it's about using that energy to be of service to other people, specifically people that are on the edge, on the fringe, and need to somehow, stay in the game, that you have the ability to kind of anchor that and handle that.
Well, that's interesting, because that's exactly what I'm doing in my work. And I'm finding I'm doing a lot more healing work for people.
Yes, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about, because healing is a really intense part of that Scorpio moon. And it just passed through my head quickly. But I also had a very strong connection with your hands and healing as well. Mm-hmm. That a simple touch. Like, again, people with Scorpio moons, they have this really profound ability to touch people. Like, just a simple touch can really send people in a profound direction. And a simple touch could be just touching somebody on their shoulder or on their back, or a warm handshake. It doesn't have to be, hey, I'm going to lay my hands on you and heal you. It doesn't have to be, or a hug, a hug in the right moment, with the right person in the right healing sort of situation can turn a person's life around. It sounds really trivial, but it's true. And especially with that Scorpio moon, you have the ability to channel at a really deep level. So yes, healing, big way.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling in.
Your show is quite wonderful. Are you only on Wednesday?
I do this on Wednesday, and on Monday I kind of do a rant, and on Friday I try to get guests on Friday, but I haven't had a guest in 2 weeks. But I've got some guests lined up here soon. But Friday is more of an interview show, and if there's nobody to interview, well, I kind of rant again. So that's how it goes. Well,
keep up the great work. Many big doors are going to open up for you now too.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm sending you all my blessings.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. There's a whole new wave of calls. Okay. I'm going to take a break, and I got to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu's chart. So I'm going to take a break. If you're on hold, let me just go to this line really quickly, because I've got two people I've been on hold for. This person been on hold for 23 minutes. I wonder if I talked to them already, but let me just find out. Sometimes I lose track. Hey, you're on the air with Robert.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. You've been on hold for 24 minutes.
I have. It's been a wait.
I want to honor that. And then the two people that are on hold after you or on right now, hang in there. I'll try to get to you, but I want to talk about Netanyahu. But you've been on for a while, so let's honor your patience. What's your name?
My name is Janelle.
And where are you calling from, Janelle?
I'm calling from New York City, in Brooklyn.
All right. I love it. The Brooklyn Nets coming to a repossessed eminent domain stadium near you.
I know, it's kind of massive and ugly, but whatever.
I've seen the picture. It's horrible looking.
It's right in the middle of the busiest place in Brooklyn. You're like, really? Here?
Well, not only that, but Brooklyn is known for these beautiful brownstone buildings. Why couldn't they have, like, built kind of a brick brownstone, kind of cool-looking place? Oh.
That's asking a lot.
Yeah. Okay, well, enough about them. Let's talk about you.
Okay, so can I give you my birth chart?
Let's do your solar chart. When's your birthday?
12/18/85.
Okay, 12/18/85. Let's see. Here we go. 12/18/85. All right, there we go. 12/18/85. All right. Looks like you got a Pisces moon, Sag sun, Mercury Sag, Venus Sag, a lot of Sag in your chart, Mars Scorpio, Jupiter Aquarius, Saturn Sag, Uranus. A lot of transpersonal energy in your chart. I mean, you've got pretty much, nothing but planets from the third and the fourth quadrants. You've got no personal planets in your chart. I mean, none, really. Personal meaning like from house 1 to house 7 or sign 1 to sign 7. It's all Scorpio to Pisces. And then you do have Chiron in Gemini, which is a personal quote-unquote planet. All right, so with all that transpersonality, what do you want me to sort of focus in on here?
Well, basically, 2 months ago, I lost my boyfriend unexpectedly, and since then, I've kind of been opened up. I've always been very intuitive, but now it's become tenfold in a sense, and I'm trying to see if I can combine this with my career in healing. I'm about to graduate from school and do acupuncture, and I kind of want to layer everything together, whether it's clairvoyance or mediumship or whatever else is coming through.
Yeah.
I think through his death, it kind of exploded with the dreams and prophetic. Like I saw his death before it happened. Like all this stuff is just coming up, and I kind of want to rein it in and make it into something that is usable, can help me to have a fairly comfortable life, and also to help as many people as I can.
Well, by the way, tensile is a really good word. That was a great word. Pluto and Scorpio, you're part of that generation. And and you've got Mars in Scorpio as well. So let's just start there, okay? Your generation is going to be marked by profound experiences like this, like losing a boyfriend and having powerful and profound dreams. Your generation is not a lightweight generation. This is a very intense, black and white, transformational generation. And you, with all of this transpersonal planetary energy in your chart, are really locked in very early on with your purpose and why you're here. And this is rare, by the way. It's funny because I saw this thing on Facebook. Do you know who Alex Gray is?
Mm-hmm.
So Alex Gray had this, he listed on his Facebook page that he was listed as one of the most 100 influential spiritual figures on the planet.
Okay.
And I thought, well, that's a funny thing to kind of list. So it's like the power list, right? And I looked in there, and it's like, I looked at I looked at the people that were listed: Pluto and Leo, Pluto and Leo, Pluto and Leo, Pluto and Leo, Pluto and Leo. It's all these Pluto and Leo people where they wear, spirituality on their sleeves, and they were the ones that kind of popularized spirituality as a lifestyle and a commodity. And what you didn't see on that list were that very many people with Pluto and Libra, some with Pluto and Virgo, certainly none with Pluto and Scorpio. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because you and your generation are spiritual without having to wear it on your sleeves. You guys, when you figure it out, are the most deeply integrated and powerfully spiritual generation that this planet has seen in a long time. And you you personally are locked into this in a very clear way, So understanding your purpose, at this stage of the game is part of the collective evolutionary cycle, right? Pluto and Scorpio squares Pluto and Leo. Pluto and Leo stands up in the mountaintop and says, hey, look at us. Hey, we're spiritual. Hey, we're great. Hey, summer of love, right? In some ways, it's it's at a 90-degree angle, and your generation is, fuck that bullshit. We don't need that. We're all about really just keeping it real and making it very, we're living it. We're being it. We don't have to have that. But what's ironic about your generation is there's also this love and fascination, and I think from a fashion sense, with a lot of Illuminati symbolism and a lot of Illuminati fashion. I mean, that's the flip side, the shadow side of your generation. The real powerful side is to move beyond the symbolic trappings and to channel the energy. And that is where you are at. You know that. You get that. You understand it. Especially with Mars and Scorpio conjuncting your Pluto. When you said that you want to merge these abilities to have psychic awareness, telepathic and sort of mnemonic articulation, of something. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example, right? Let's say you go into working with somebody, a client. You're the acupuncturist. You put a needle in somebody's meridian, right? A really interesting connection to you and that placement of that needle on that meridian would be to have your fingers on the edge of that needle, and that needle be a divining rod, and you would get information from the placement of that needle on that particular meridian in a way that nobody else could. It would be like you would get the story of what's happening in that part of the body and on that meridian. You would get pictures, right? You would really get very pronounced and complex information. It wouldn't just be the application of attending to the blockage of chi. It would be understanding the person's story through the actual placement of the needle. That's what I'm talking about. You could combine these two things. So my advice to you early on would be to take your time with your work. When you work on somebody, be very deliberate and try to make a real perceptible connection between you and that one meridian and that one needle. And especially if you're in the training stages, you can, maybe you've already done this.Maybe I'm already repeating something you've already figured out. But if you haven't, take your time with each needle, because that needle is going to tell you a specific story about that person. That's how I see you merge the physical and the metaphysical, because that needle is the bridge between the needle and the metaphysical. Right? I mean, the physical and the metaphysical. It is entering into their body physically. It's interpenetrating their body, but it's also like an antenna, which is now broadcasting the information from that trauma or from that experience right into you, the practitioner. And you have the hardware to do that with that Pluto-Mars conjunction. So
my last question, real quick. I know you have things to do,
okay.
But I'm just wondering how big I should go, because I have my chart in front of me and by the back of my hand. I have Pluto and Mars conjuncting the 10th. I have Sun conjunct the ascendant, 26, 27. I have Neptune on the ascendant, and I have Pisces on the 3rd. And I just kind of feel like, yes, I can work one-on-one on people, but I almost feel a compulsion to go bigger.
You do, and you will, but you have to master your craft.
Okay.
Yeah, and you do, and you can. And what you'll do is you'll share this with people. You'll share the story. You'll share the technique. You'll create your own technique.
Okay.
But you have to master your craft. And look, you're extremely evolved. You've come here to really share some really pronounced gifts and help a lot of people. So don't lose sight of that. But for now, you got to get your hands on people, and you've got to document what your experience is, and write these stories down. If you have, because you've got Chiron and Gemini, and Gemini is all about capturing the moment, capturing the experience, capturing the news. So if you've had a really powerful day working with people, keep a journal and talk and write down what those breakthroughs were, because they'll play a huge role for you later on.
Okay. Thank you so much, Robert.
All right, hey, listen, come back to the show sometime, and tell us about your work and some of the breakthroughs that you've had. You're gonna be a rock star in this world, so I have no doubt about that. So come back and share a success story with us.
All right, I will. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All
right, man. Okay, so here we go. It's 11:45, and I've only got 15 minutes left, and the lines are really backed up. Okay, here's my story. I have a website. It's robertphoenix.com. I'm gonna update it soon. I've just been incredibly busy with other parts of my life. My son got sick last week for 3 days, and my schedule is so tight that 3 days can just throw my personal time off its axis. So I am going to update my website, robertphoenix.com. I do this for a living. I do readings for a living. I do it as a service as well. I've got Sun in the 10th house and my True Note and North Node are both in the 10th house as well. So this is what I do for a living, robertphoenix.com. If I don't get to you today and you would like to do a reading, you can do that and set that up with me there on my site. I also have a very affordable, first of all, I never turn anybody away, number one. And number two, I have a very affordable transit program that you can plug into for $25. It's a year's worth of transits. I did not write the program, but there's clearly a lot of information, really detailed information on a daily basis. Transits for a year for $25. I turn those around in the same day, and you can get those from my website as well, robertphoenix.com. Okay, what I want to do really quickly is I want to look at, I was going to get to the Pope's chart, and I don't have time to do the Pope's chart, but I do want to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu's chart just a little bit, and I just have to find it here if I can. There it is. Okay. So Benjamin, that was weird. Is that my phone? It might have been my phone. Okay, so Benjamin Netanyahu's chart. If you haven't figured this out, I'll just throw this into the chat room because there's a lot of astrology peeps, a lot of really smart astrology people in the chat room. We've got Gate 7 who shows up there, and Gloria and Gemini Sun. They're all really, really very sophisticated astrologers, and could show up on my show and just really talk shop in a very good way. So sometimes if you have questions about astrology, I'm sure they'll be able to answer them for you in there. So you could check them out. It's a cool chat room. So Netanyahu's chart. Let me just get into this really quickly. Here's the big piece. The big ticket item for him is Uranus. He's got Uranus in Cancer in the 8th house. And Uranus is squaring his natal Cancer. Transiting Uranus is transiting his natal Cancer right now, which is an extreme sense of restlessness. Transiting Uranus is opposing his natal Mercury in Libra, which, again, very intense, super intense. It's forming a T-square, right? So let's throw Pluto into the mix, and Pluto is in his 2nd house. Transiting Pluto is in his 2nd house, which is, it's an intense place for Pluto. Let me tell you, I've had Pluto in my 2nd house for the last 3 years, and I've pretty much lost everything with the Pluto transit in my 2nd house. I lost my corporate gig, which wasn't whatever. I did lose my marriage, and I did lose this quote unquote idea of family. I lost a significant income stream and support as a result of that. So Pluto transit in 2nd house is really it's about losing it all on some level. and then rebuilding it. Now, here's where it gets tricky, because Netanyahu's got Pluto in his second house. It's opposing. It's over his Uranus, which is good on some level, but it's still opposing Uranus, his natal Uranus. Transiting Uranus is where is this? Hold on. Transiting Uranus is right on it's really just intensely squaring his natal Uranus in the 8th house. So what we have here is we have a cross. We have a cardinal cross, which is forming in this guy's chart. And part of the Pluto transit the second house is power. He is convinced that if he does not attack Iran, that he will lose all of his power. So his identity is transcending the ideology which would be driving this. It is transcending the Zionistic ideology. It is, when I say transcend, I'm not even talking about in a good way. I'm talking about in a personal, driven kind of way. He is personally involved on a soul level with what's happening. The best thing that could happen to this guy would be to lose everything right now, to lose it all. Now, I'm not talking about losing it all from a he pushes the button and we're in this conflagration, global conflagration. That's not what I'm talking about. The best thing that could happen to him right now would be to lose power, to be disgraced on some level, and to lose power, because there would be a vacuum and a void in the leadership, quote unquote, that would be gung-ho to start this war. This person is extremely pivotal. He's in a pissing match with Barack Obama. Obama has rebuffed Netanyahu, who rode roughshod over George Bush. George Bush was a compliant cancer, extremely compliant. Obama, while he answers to his masters, he is not necessarily compliant. He's got a lot of ego. Theoretically, he's a Leo. He could be a Scorpio, but he's not playing nice with Netanyahu, and this is pissing Netanyahu off. So Netanyahu has the potential of losing face, especially with this massive cardinal cross, which is aligning in his chart. He also has Neptune. Neptune is squaring his ascendant. He is deluded with Neptune squaring his ascendant. He is deluded by the motivation as to why to do this. Extremely deluded. He has the chart has the potential right now to cause him a serious loss of face. And theoretically, for the sake of the planet, we would really encourage this. Now, the flip side of this is he could become so restless with the Uranus square that he could just say, fuck it, and just fly off the handle and push the button. I mean, what is Uranus? It is uranium, right? He's got Pluto conjunct Mars in the 9th house. Very warlike in the 9th house. So he's got the potential to be extremely explosive. So he could theoretically push that button with this. Again, we've got this intense square coming up, and it's going to impact his chart in a very big way. So this is a key figure on the global stage. And from a personal level, on a soul level, what would be the best thing for him and for the planet, quite frankly, is to lose face in such a way that he has to step down or step away from what he's doing. And with his chart, there is potential for that. And there's potential because he could act and react in a way that could force that to happen. So keep your eye on Netanyahu over the course of the next few weeks. Because right now, the chatter coming out is that the Israeli Air Force is readying to do an airstrike on Iran. The United States fleet has sent over more ships to the Persian Gulf. The pieces are being put in place for something really unholy to happen. And we're on a very thin time frame here. And some of this is out of our control. But when I see a chart like this and I bring attention to it, here's a person that could actually do something before all of this takes place based on the intrinsic pressure of his chart. And it could put the brakes on something very, very cataclysmic that is in the wings. Now, I want you to know that probably nothing will happen before the Olympics. Keep that in mind. All the doomsday scenarios, the economy, war with Iran, earthquakes maybe. That's something, HARP, no HARP, we're in a big earthquake cycle. But the Olympics need to happen. I don't believe there will be a strike on Israel on Israel. Maybe that was a Freudian slip. There will not be a strike on Iran, if there is a strike on Iran, until after the Olympics. Trust me on this. Because it will foul everything up with the Rothschild Olympics. You can't have an Olympics when the world is on the edge of World War III. It just can't happen. So we have a little bit of time, and we have a little bit of time to watch this man unravel before our eyes. Keep your eye on him. Pivotal figure. Okay. It is 11:54, and I only have 4 minutes left in the show today. And normally, if you've been holding and being patient on the line, I would read for you, but I just don't have the time today because I've got a stack of other stuff. I've got a newsletter I got to get out, and I just only have a little bit of time to do that. I have other things I've got to do. Little League practice. I'm a coach for a Little League team. That's one of the other things that I do. So unfortunately, I can't read for everybody that's patiently waiting, but you can go to my website and you can call in next Wednesday. I will be back. I have to set a definable limit here. I will be back next Wednesday. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I won't. I won't. I have to take Wednesday off. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Since I don't have a guest on Friday for my Friday show, I'm going to do a Friday version of this show. Okay, so if you're holding 250, Teddy's mom, the Skype caller 201, I know you're listening. If you're holding, you can call back on Friday, and I'll put you right to the top of the queue. I'll devote the first hour of the show to readings on Friday, okay? Because I don't have a guest. And then the second hour, I'll do a rant. So unfortunately, I can't get to you, but please call back on Friday. I'll move you right to the top of the queue. I'll remember your numbers, so you can call me then. Or if you want to schedule a reading, you can do that. Got 90 seconds. All right, so that's it. I want to thank everybody for calling in, for being patient, for listening, for participating. You are a great audience and a great group of people. I tend to attract really, for lack of a better term, enlightened people, people that really want to work on their lives. And I honor that, respect that. So thank you for calling in. And that's it. Get out of here with a little Philip K. Dick. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to open what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Catch me on Friday, readings in the first hour.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu. perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words, I submit that these impressions are valid and significant. And I will even say this, such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off.